Welcome back to my animal education series. Today I'm with Glenn, Katie, and Dakota. And what is Dakota?
Dakota is a Redtail Hawk.
Where can you find Redtail Hawks?
All over North America and actually in the part of Central America as well. They're very common birds.
I enjoy going on the highways because I do a lot of these trips, and we're always seeing these Redtail Hawks on the highway.
They're all over the place, and actually in the fall and the winter, it seems like we see more of them, but that's because the leaves are off the tree, and it's much more easy to see them.
So, what kind of environments do these birds prefer?
They really utilize a lot of the environment. They will use trees for roosting and nesting. They also utilize open fields because it's easier to catch a rabbit or a mouse if you don't have to fly between trees.
And well, you mentioned rabbit and a mouse. Is that what they eat in the wild?
Right, they'll eat small mammals, occasionally a bird and stuff, and they're not above eating carrion either. So if there's roadkill, if they're hungry enough, they'll have some of that.
Which is unfortunately how a lot of these hawks meet their demise along roads.
Right, they try to fly across and they're not aware of traffic, and that can be very bad for them.
And sometimes cars hit other animals and then there's carrion on the side of the road.
Right.
And they're next to the road as well, they get hit.
Yes.
Bad cycle there.
Absolutely.
So how does this coloration help them in the wild?
It's interesting you ask about the colorization because you see them, and she's kind of what you'd call average, but I've also seen them very dark and very light. But again, because they have that broken pattern of feathers, it's almost like a lot of animals when they get into the trees, they blend in really well because you look at the trees, it's not one solid color and things are moving, so she just really blends in when she's perched there.
I could never. So why is this hawk called the Redtail Hawk?
Well, something really unique about this bird is they have a reddish-brown tail. We call that a field mark. So if you see a bird of prey, that's one of the things you'll try to look at. It's the tail or the wings, and look at the colors and the patterns, and that helps you tell what species it is.
So what adaptations does this hawk have to survive in the wild?
Obviously, they have the wings. They can fly very fast, and they can dive up to 90 miles an hour. And when birds fly, for the most part, they don't make a whole bunch of noise. Also very strong talons, which is why Katie's wearing the gauntlet there, and it protects her hand. But when Dakota, if she were flying and land on something and grab it, she's got it. It's not going to go anywhere.
Because in the wild, if they don't get a good enough grip on it, they could lose the food item, and then they don't know when they're going to get food next.
Exactly. It's hard being a wild animal. It's a lot of work.
So how good is this hawk's eyesight?
It's probably, some people say 30 to 50 times better than people, which is great because if you can imagine you're several hundred feet up in the air and there's a little 2-ounce mouse running around, you got to have really good eyesight to see it. And then when you're flying down really fast, you have to be able to focus and change how you're seeing in order to catch it.
I mean, that's super cool because we can't really imagine how good of eyesight that is.
Absolutely.
And are these birds endangered in the wild?
They're not. Their numbers are really good. They have a real large range. They are protected. All birds of prey are protected by federal law. They have some really cool adaptations, though, and birds do in general. You know, a lot of people will see this bird out and they'll think it's 10, 15, 20 pounds, but she's just a little bit over 3 pounds, over 3 pounds. They have hollow bones. You can't fly with solid bones like us, no matter how hard you fly it, but her bones are hollow, and like all birds, and it helps them fly.
And how did this bird end up here at the zoo?
That's an excellent question. We have a number of birds of prey here, and none of them were deliberately taken to be on exhibit or to be in programs. They're all injured birds. They're non-releasable. So if she were released into the wild, she would not be able to survive. So animal rehabbers will contact them if we have a need for a bird, and then we bring them in and we train them, and they have a nice, safe life for a number of years.
What happened to this specific bird?
She has a wing injury.
She actually was, she was shot potentially by a BB gun. So she's got a couple bullet fragments in her, and then she also has a detached retina.
Yes. So if she was out in the wild, obviously birds got to be able to fly and see to be able to survive and hunt and stuff. It's not unusual to see birds that do have bullet wounds or fragments and stuff like that too, but they're actually valuable animals. Farmers like them because if you're growing corn or soybean or something, you don't want mice and squirrels out there eating all your food, and they've learned that farms are a good place to find food.
Now, unfortunately, I've been to several other rehabilitation centers as well, and bullets and fragments are a very common story, almost being hit by cars.
Right, that too. Yes.
Which sucks, because it's such a beautiful animal.
Yes.
And people just think they're a threat or something.
No, not at all.
So what is your favorite thing about the red-tailed hawk?
I think with all birds of prey, I think it's they're just the way they look. They're beautiful animals, and their talents. They're wonderful tools and stuff. Is she cool?
Whenever I look at a bird of prey, the first like two things I always notice are like the eyes and the talons.
Yep.
It's because they're always like eyeing you down when they first see you because they don't know what you are at first or who you are. They see you guys probably pretty often, so they know who you are. But when my dad and I come into the room, they don't know who we are. So they're always looking at us. And then you always see the feet. Like, that's how they get the food in the wild. So they need kind of like a weapon, for lack of a better term.
Well, and they get to know people that, I handled birds of prey for years and stuff, but I have not worked with this bird, but Katie has. So if I try to take that bird from her, the bird should probably bait and, not be sure what's going on.
And you mentioned to my dad and I what baiting was off camera. Do you mind telling the camera what it was?
Sure.
So, kind of, wasn't it when they started like flying like off the glove?
Yeah, it's called baiting, and what they're doing, sometimes they're trying to readjust themselves, or they're trying to move away from something, so they'll jump off, and then you watch when it happens. What Katie does is she moves with the bird, and they'll just get right back up on the glove, and then they're fine.
Just kind of like let them do their thing.
Right,
And
exactly.
readjust.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for telling us about the Redtail Hawk.
You're welcome.
And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to my channel, and also check out my Instagram @ColeShirk. And as always, I'll see you next week.